Hi everyone, welcome back to my lab and today's video, which is going to be a review and demo of this look, which I created using the new Anastasia Beverly Hills products. She recently added a new eyeshadow palette, some bronzers, and a highlighter to her line. And I purchased mine from Ulta Beauty when they had 5 times points on Anastasia, and I figured that was as good a time as any to pick it up. So if you're interested in seeing my thoughts on the collection as well as the demo on how I created this look, then let's get started. The first item that I did pick up was the Soft Glam palette. And this is a 14 eyeshadow palette, and on the back side you do have some information about the products as well as the shelf life. This is what the eyeshadow palette looks like. It does have the same velvet finish as Subculture and the Modern Renaissance palette. It does include a very nice mirror, and here are your shades. As I mentioned, there's 14 shades in this palette. You have your essential matte finish, as well as some glam shimmer finish, which are your metallic finishes. It is important to note that there are some repeated shades in this palette that are existing in the Modern Renaissance palette, and those are Tempera, Burnt Orange, and Cypress Umber. The first thing I wanted to mention about this palette is that I didn't think I was gonna pick up this palette because I love Anastasia shadows. I think they're great, but this is a very neutral palette, and I have a lot of neutral palettes in my collection already, and so I didn't think that it would be a very wise investment on my part, but I've seen other people do reviews and they've been loving this palette. I've seen really beautiful looks created with it, and I'm actually happy with the look that I created myself. I like the palette. I do have to mention that each individual shade contains 0.74 grams of product, which is typical for an Anastasia eyeshadow palette. Usually they range in the 0.7 gram range for the amount of product that you do receive. One interesting thing to note is that this palette has an 18-month shelf life, and that is different than the Modern Renaissance, and it's different than Subculture as well. Modern Renaissance and Subculture have 6 months shelf lives, and this one has 18. That leads me to believe that there is something different about the formula, probably in the preservative that they're using to make it last so much longer. The price of the palette is also the standard $42 for Anastasia eyeshadow palettes. I do like the color selection. It is definitely a warm neutral palette, but you can also achieve some more rosy tones, which are becoming so popular right now. If you use the dusty rose, the rose pink, and maybe even the sienna shades, these would definitely yield a more rosy finish to your eyeshadow look. But overall, it is a warm neutral palette, and it is a really lovely done color selection. I really do like the color selection, and the quality of the shadows is as I would expect from Anastasia eyeshadows. Now, I do have to say that Anastasia formula is really dusty. It's powdery in my opinion. I know that Subculture created a lot of issues with it being the first eyeshadow palette that was so powdery, but to be perfectly honest, this one isn't that far off from my Subculture. I don't know if I got a good batch of Subculture or what happened. I actually enjoy Subculture. I'm a big fan. And I'm a fan of this one as well. I actually prefer Subculture to this one just because of the color selection. Subculture does add a more unique color scheme, whereas this one is a lot more neutrals, and I know that it was intended to be more of an everyday palette or a palette for a makeup artist for more traditional or bridal type of looks, and I can definitely see that. It's beautiful. The quality is fine. I am glad that I have it to my collection because the hoarder in me wants the whole collection, and so I'm happy to add this one. I definitely would recommend it if these color schemes are up your alley, or if you're looking for a warm neutral palette. If you have a vast eyeshadow palette collection already, I don't think you need this in your collection, although if you were debating on it, I don't think you would regret purchasing it. Now, the eyeshadows are made in the USA, but it does come with a dual-sided brush, and this one is manufactured in the PRC. Here's a close-up of your brush. It's a dual-ended brush where you have a shader side and a more blending brush side. I did try to use the brush already, and it's okay. It will definitely do you in a pinch, but it's a little more prickly than the brushes that I'm used to. But again, in a pinch, it'll do you just fine. I will definitely insert swatches of the palette. Here you have Tempera, Glistening Orange Soda, Rose Pink, Sultry, Bronze, and Mulberry. You also have Dusty Rose, Fairy, Burnt Orange, Sienna, Rustic, Cypress Umber, and Noir. All in all, the palette swatches really well. It applies to the eyes really well with brushes. As you'll see in the demo, I applied all the eyeshadows completely dry, and I believe that I achieved a really nice eye look. So those are my thoughts on the palette. Let me know if you have it already and what you think of it, or if it's on your wish list for maybe the Sephora VIB sale. I also picked up one of the bronzers. This one retails for $28, and it comes in 6 different shades. And interestingly enough, I've seen all shades in person, and they look really, really super similar. I think that this is the kind of product that you really have to try try on to be able to determine what might be your best shade, or at least swatch them. It's very hard to tell from looking at swatches online. Now me personally, I picked up the shade Saddle. I think that it matched me okay. Online it's described as a golden amber shade. I have a lot of warm undertones to my skin, so I thought this one would match me quite well. The packaging of the bronzer is absolutely beautiful. It's very similar to the blush trios that Anastasia released some time back. It reflects my ring light, but hopefully you can still see that the logo of the company is visible if you shift the packaging. I think it's just stunning. It's really beautiful. It does have a button on the front, a full mirror inside, and here is your bronzer. So here's a swatch of the shade Saddle on my medium skin tone. It's a little bit more cool tone than I would have thought, but when applied to the skin, it comes on quite warm tone. Now the bronzer is a very smooth powder. It feels creamy to the touch, and it picks up really well on pretty much any kind of brush. I had no trouble applying it. Actually, I used a brush that was a little bit dense and it applied a little bit heavily, but it blended out beautifully and I had no trouble. This is a matte bronzer, and all the bronzers in the line are. I prefer a bronzer with a sheen, but I really was excited about this new formula and new product to their line, as they haven't ever done bronzers before, and I really wanted to try it. I think it's fine. I'm not disappointed. I don't think that it's anything you have to run out and get if you don't need a bronzer right now, but if you are on the market for a bronzer, I think this is a really nice one at $28. You do get quite a lot of product. There's a full 10 grams of product here, so this will last you a good long time. I do like the shade selection that I made, and again, I think it applied beautifully. I think the packaging is just stunning. I think the packaging is my favorite thing about it. I also have a tendency to prefer bronzers with more of a sheen or a glow to them, and so for that reason this won't be my favorite bronzer, but it's definitely not my least favorite bronzer, and I will definitely enjoy having it in my collection. I also picked up the Amrezy Highlighter. This is the packaging for that one. It's the same shape as the bronzer, but it has little gold stars etched, and it has Amrezy's signature in the front. It has the same push button open, and when you open it up, you have the most beautiful wave pattern. Yeah, I think this way you can see the waves, the waved surface in the product a little bit more. So I also use this product in my demo, and it is the highlight that I'm wearing today. I have seen Amrezy in like a couple of different videos, like her Instagram posts and things like that, and she always has an amazing glow. So I actually thought that this highlighter was going to be a lot more beaming. I wouldn't say that it's that beaming. I think it's a very nice highlighter. It's a little lighter on the skin than I originally thought. If you look at it in the pan, it looks a little bit more gold, but here's what it looks swatched. And here it is on my skin tone. So you can see it's a lot lighter than you might expect, but you can see it's a smooth formula. I wasn't initially gonna pick this one up because I was more interested in the Becca highlighter with the Eiffel Tower on it. I forget exactly what it's called, Parisian Nights or Parisian Lights, something like that. But I did decide to pick this one up because I saw it on everybody's favorite videos and it sucked me in. And I have to say, like, it's a really nice highlighter. I think it has a nice finish. It doesn't emphasize my texture, but it's not as beaming as I thought it was going to be. I applied it dry, so I'm sure if I applied it wet, then I would get a more intense highlight. This one does contain 9 grams of product. It's definitely a very generous amount for $28. So let's go ahead and get into the demo so that you can see how the products apply, and I will be back at the end of the video with my final opinions. Using a Goss 03 and the shade Tempera to set down my eyeshadow base. I'm using my MAC Soft Ochre paint pot as my eyeshadow base. Same brush and the shade Orange Soda. I've always been curious to try this shade because everybody used it. When I first started watching YouTube, this was everyone's favorite transition shade. Same brush and the shade Burnt Orange. This one I'm going to start to bring down on the outer third of my lid as well. Now I'm taking Rustic on a Sonia G Pencil 2 brush. I'm also going to apply this shade to the outer third of my eyelid, bringing it a little bit further in than the last one. Next, I'm taking a Sonia G Worker 2 brush and I'm just going to blend above the crease. Next, with a Goss 04, I'm taking the shade Cypress Umber and I'm putting it in the outer V. Sonia G and the shade Tempera on the arch of my brow. And a Goss 03 brush with a little bit more orange soda to blend out the edges. Next, I'm taking Sonia G Smudger One in the shade Glistening, and I'm applying that dry to the inner third of my eye. And now with the Sonia G Builder Two brush, I'm applying the shade Bronze along the rest of my eyelid. Again, I'm using the shade completely dry. And with the Goss 04, I'm taking the shade Cypress Umber and blending inward over where I just placed the bronze shade. I'm going to apply liner and mascara to finish off the look, and I will be right back. Alright, I'm back. So clearly I've added a whole bunch of stuff to my face, but I really wanted the video to focus on the new Anastasia products. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the lower lash line so we can match the other eye. I'm using the Sonia G Pencil 2 brush and orange soda. Same pencil 2 brush and concentrating burnt orange a little bit closer to my lash line now. Next, with the Sonia G Smudger One, I'm taking the shade Mulberry very, very close to my lash line. And taking the pencil brush, I'm going to smudge that out. Now with my Wet n Wild Brow Highlighter, Emily Noel's amazing trick, I'm going to line the inner rim. And finish off with my favorite lower lash mascara. Alright, hopefully you enjoyed seeing that demo and seeing how the products apply to the face, and this is of course the finished look. I think that they're beautiful products if you were on the market for products like them. If you are interested in a very nice warm neutral palette, Soft Glam is a beautiful choice, especially if you like the Anastasia formula, as it is the formula that I have come to know and love. The bronzers are a nice addition to their line, and I really like that they have 6 different shades, although again, when I looked at them in the pan, they don't look that significantly different. I would say that the main difference is in the undertone. Some of them range a little bit more warm and others have more of a red undertone, and so yeah, you definitely have to play with these to figure out what your particular shade might be. But I'm happy with the selection that I made, and again, this is a matte bronzer, so if you like matte bronzers, then this is a very nice one. And lastly, the highlighter is also a very nice choice of a highlighter, although it surprised me. It's not as blinding as I thought it was going to be, although I think that it's still really flattering on the skin, and it could be built up as well as applied wet if you want a more intense highlight. I think it gives a really nice soft look. And again, I'm surprised at how light the color is. I thought that it was going to be a little bit more gold, but it's definitely wearable, and I think that it could suit quite a range of skin tones as well. That's everything for this video on the new items to the Anastasia Beverly Hills line. I did enjoy sharing my opinions and my thoughts with you. Please let me know if you've picked any of these up and what you think of them, or if they are on your wish list and which ones. I'm always happy to chat with you in the comment section. Thank you so much for joining me for my video today. If this was your first visit to my channel, I'm Yori, and I'm very glad you clicked on my video. Hopefully you'll subscribe and join me for a future one. To my existing YouTube friends, thank you so much for being here again, and I look forward to seeing you again really, really soon on my next one. Bye-bye.